Grandpa Ned had seen a lot in his 83 years, 2 wars, 3 wives, and countless family dramas, but nothing could have prepared him for the phone call he received that cold October morning. "Grandpa," my voice cracked through the receiver, "I need you, the doctor." He said something about Sarah's ultrasound. "Something's wrong." Within 20 minutes, Ned was at my doorstep, his weathered hands gripping my shoulders with surprising strength. His steel-gray eyes, still sharp despite his age, studied my face like he was reading a map of my pain. "Tell me everything, Marcus," he said, settling into the worn leather armchair that had been his favorite since he'd given it to us as a wedding gift. From the beginning. It had started 3 days earlier. Sarah, my wife of 4 years, had gone for her routine 20-week ultrasound. I'd had an emergency at work. A pipe had burst at the restaurant I managed, so she'd gone alone. When she came home, she seemed different, quiet. Her hazel eyes wouldn't meet mine. "Everything okay with the baby?" I'd asked, kissing her forehead. "Fine," she'd whispered. "Everything's fine." But I knew my wife. 4 years of marriage had taught me to read the subtle tremors in her voice, the way she twisted her wedding ring when she was anxious. Something was very wrong. The next morning, Dr. Morrison's office called. Could I come in for a private consultation without Sarah? That's when my world tilted on its axis. Dr. Morrison had been our family physician for years. He'd treated my pneumonia, Sarah's migraines, and had been genuinely excited when we'd announced the pregnancy. But the man who greeted me in his office looked 10 years older than he had at our last appointment. "Marcus," he'd said, gesturing to a chair, "please sit down." The ultrasound images were spread across his desk like evidence at a crime scene. Dr. Morrison's hands trembled as he pointed to the screen. "I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty," he'd said, his voice grave. "Is there any history of genetic abnormalities in your family, specifically anything unusual?" "Unusual how?" He'd pulled out a medical journal, open to a page marked with a yellow sticky note. The condition had a name I couldn't pronounce, some rare chromosomal anomaly that occurred in less than 1 in a million pregnancies. "The thing is, Marcus," Dr. Morrison had continued, his professional demeanor cracking, "this particular condition, it's exclusively passed down through paternal genetics, the father's line." My stomach had dropped. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," he'd paused, choosing his words carefully, "I'm saying that unless you carry this genetic marker, which we've never tested you for, there's a biological impossibility here." The implication hung in the air like poison gas. "You're suggesting my wife cheated on me?" Dr. Morrison had leaned forward. "I'm suggesting you need to have a very serious conversation with Sarah. And Marcus," his voice had dropped to barely a whisper, "as your doctor and your friend, I'm begging you to consider protecting yourself. Get a divorce attorney before this goes any further." Now, sitting across from Grandpa Ned, I felt the tears I'd been holding back for 2 days finally spill over. "He thinks she cheated, Grandpa. He practically begged me to leave her." Ned was quiet for a long moment, his gnarled fingers steepled beneath his chin. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. Not a cruel laugh, but a deep, knowing chuckle that seemed to come from somewhere ancient and wise. "That fool Morrison," he muttered. "Did he actually show you any test results with your name on them?" "What? No," he said, "we'd never tested." "Because you have been tested, boy." Ned stood up, moved to the window, and stared out at the October leaves swirling in the wind. "When you were 6 months old, your mother insisted on it after what happened with your uncle." My mind reeled. "What are you talking about?" Ned turned to face me, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked vulnerable, old, scared even. "Marcus, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible, but it's the truth, and it's time you knew." He took a deep breath. "Our family, the Thorne men, we carry something in our genes, something rare. Your great-grandfather had it, your uncle had it, you have it, and now, apparently, so does your son." "Son?" A smile cracked across Ned's weathered face. "Did Morrison tell you the baby's sex? It's a boy. a healthy boy from what I can see in these images. He'd brought his reading glasses and was now examining the ultrasound photos I'd left scattered on the coffee table. The condition Morrison's worried about, Ned continued, it's called Thorne's variance, named after our family, actually, back in the 1950s when they first documented it. It looks like an abnormality on ultrasounds and genetic tests, but it's not. It's just different, a quirk of our DNA that makes us unique. Different how? We are stronger than average, heal faster, live longer. You see how old I am and I still drive, still think clearly. Your great-grandfather made it to 98, but the real gift, Ned tapped his temple. Perfect memory, photographic recall. Your uncle used it to become a surgeon. You use it to remember every customer's order, every preference in your restaurant. Haven't you ever wondered why you never forget a face? I slumped back in my chair, my head spinning. This is insane. Is it? Ned challenged. Think about it, Marcus. Have you ever broken a bone? When you got that deep cut last year, how fast did it heal? 2 days when it should have taken 2 weeks. He was right. I'd always chalked it up to good luck, good genes in the generic sense. But this. Why didn't anyone tell me? Your mother didn't want you to feel different. After your father died, she tried to bury everything about the Thorne legacy. But biology doesn't lie, son. And that baby Sarah's carrying, he's a Thorne through and through. The front door clicked open, and Sarah stepped inside, her belly round beneath her autumn coat. She froze when she saw both of us waiting. Marcus, what's going on? I stood up, crossed the room, and took her hands in mine. They were shaking. Honey, I need you to tell me the truth, about the ultrasound, about what the doctor said. Tears welled in her eyes. He scared me, she whispered. He said there was something wrong with the baby, something genetic. He asked about your family history, but I didn't know anything. He made it sound like she couldn't finish the sentence. Like the baby couldn't be mine. She nodded, sobbing now. I swear to you, Marcus, I swear on everything holy, there's never been anyone else. Only you, always only you. I pulled her into my arms, feeling Grandpa Ned's reassuring hand on my shoulder. I know, sweetheart, I know. Over the next hour, Ned explained everything to both of us. He showed us old family records, medical files he'd kept hidden for decades, documentation of Thorne's variants going back 4 generations. He told us about the research study his grandfather had participated in, how the medical community had tried to understand this genetic anomaly, but ultimately concluded it was a benign mutation, unusual but not harmful. Morrison's not wrong to be concerned, Ned explained. He's just ignorant of the family history. To him, seeing this on an ultrasound without context, it would look like a paternity issue or a serious abnormality. But I assure you that baby is as much a Thorne as any of us. Sarah wiped her eyes, a laugh of relief bubbling up through her tears. So our son is going to be, what, a superhero. Just a little more resilient than most, Ned smiled, and blessed with a memory that'll serve him well, though I recommend you still make him study for his exams. The memory works best when you actually pay attention. I called Dr. Morrison that afternoon. Ned came with me to the appointment, bringing decades-old medical files and documentation that thoroughly explained what Morrison had seen on the ultrasound. To his credit, the doctor listened, asked questions, and eventually apologized profusely. I've never seen this condition before, he admitted. I should have done more research before jumping to conclusions. Sarah, Marcus, I'm truly sorry for the distress I caused. 3 months later, when Noah Marcus Thorne came into the world at 7 pounds, 9 ounces, Grandpa Ned was there in the hospital room. He held his great-grandson with tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. Welcome to the family, little one, he whispered. You've got the Thorne gift, use it well. As I watched my grandfather rock my son, Sarah sleeping peacefully beside us, I realized that what I'd feared would destroy my marriage had instead brought me closer to understanding who I really was. The doctor's dire warning, his plea for divorce, had seemed like the end of everything. Instead, it was a beginning, a door opening to truths about my family, my identity, and the legacy I'd pass down to my son. Sometimes the truth isn't what tears us apart. Sometimes it's exactly what we need to understand who we're meant to become. And sometimes all it takes is a wise old man who's been waiting 83 years to finally tell his grandson the truth.